Friends and fellow citizens, it has been my privilege to assist in several anniversary celebrations of the abolition of slavery in the District of Columbia. But I remember no occasion of this kind when I felt a deeper solicitude for the future welfare of our emancipated people than now. The chief cause of anxiety is not in the condition of the colored people of the District of Columbia, though there is much that is wrong and unsatisfactory here, but the deplorable condition of the Negro in the southern states. At no time since the abolition of slavery has there been more cause for alarm on this account than at this juncture in our history. I have recently been in two of the southern states, South Carolina and Georgia, and my impression from what I saw, heard, and learned there is not favorable to my hopes for this race. I know this is a sad message to bring you on this 26th anniversary of freedom in the District of Columbia. But I know, too, that I have a duty to perform, and that duty is to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And I should be unworthy to stand here, unworthy of the confidence of the colored people of this country, if I should from any considerations of policy withhold any fact or feature of the condition of the freedmen which the people of this country ought to know. The temptation on anniversary occasions like this is to prophesy smooth things, to be joyful and glad, to indulge in the illusions of hope, to bring glad tidings on our tongues and words of peace reveal. But while I know it is always easier to be the bearer of glad tidings than sad ones, while I know that hope is a powerful motive to exertion and high endeavor, while I know that people generally would rather look upon the bright side of their condition than to know the worst, there comes a time when it is best that the worst should be made known. And in my judgment, that time, in respect to the condition of the colored people of the South, is now. There are times when neither hope nor fear should be allowed to control our speech. Cry aloud and spare not is the word of wisdom as well as of Scripture. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Applies to the body not less than the soul, to this world not less than the world to come. Outside the truth, there is no solid foundation for any of us. And I assume that you who have invited me to speak, and you who have come to hear me speak, expect me to speak the truth as I understand the truth. The truth at which we should get on this occasion respects the precise relation subsisting between the white and the colored people of the South, or, in other words, between the colored people and the old master class of the South. We have need to know this and to take it to heart. It is well said that a people may lose its liberty in a day and not miss it in half a century, and that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. In my judgment, with my knowledge of what has already taken place in the South, these wise and wide awake sentiments were never more apt and timely than now. I have assisted in fighting one battle for the abolition of slavery, and the American people have shed their blood in defense of the Union and the Constitution. And neither I nor they should wise to fight this battle over again. And in order that we may not, we should look the facts in the face today, and if possible, nip the evil in the bud. I have no taste for the role of an alarmist. If my wish could be allowed to dictate my speech, I would tell you something quite the reverse of what I now intend. I would tell you that everything is lovely with the Negro in the South. I would tell you that the rights of the Negro are respected, and that B has no wrongs to redress. I would tell you that he is honestly paid for his labor, that he is secure in his liberty, that he is tried by a jury of his peers when accused of a crime, that he is no longer subject to the lynch law, that he has freedom of speech, that the gates of knowledge are open to him, that he goes to the ballot box unmolested, that his vote is duly counted and giveth his proper weight in determining result. I would tell you that he is making splendid progress in the acquisition of knowledge, wealth, and influence. I would tell you that his bitterest enemies have become his warmest friends, that the desire to make him a slave no longer exists anywhere in the South, that the Democratic Party is a better friend to him than the Republican Party, and that each party is competing with the other to see which can do the most to make his liberty a blessing to himself and to the country and to the world. But in telling you all of this, I should be telling you what is absolutely false, and what you know to be false. And the only thing which would save such a story from being a lie would be its utter inability to deceive. What is the condition of the Negro at the South at this moment? Let us look at it both in the light of facts and in the light of reason. To understand it, we must consult nature as well as circumstances, the past as well as the present. No fact more obvious than the fact that there is a perpetual tendency of power to encroach upon weakness, and of the crafty to take advantage of the simple. This is as natural as for smoke to ascend or water to run down. The love of power is one of the strongest traits in the Anglo-Saxon race. This love and power, common to the white race, has been nursed and strengthened at the South by slavery. Accustomed during 200 years to unlimited possessions and exercise of irresponsible power, the love of it has become stronger by habit. To assume that this feeling of pride and power has died out and disappeared from the South is to assume a miracle. Any man who tells you that it has died out or has ceased to be exercised and made effective tells you that which is untrue and in the nature of things could not be true. Not only is the love of power there, but a talent for its exercise has been fully developed. This talent makes the old master class of the South not only the masters of the Negro, but the masters of Congress, and, if not checked, will make them the masters of the nation. It was something more than empty boasts in the old times, when it was said that one slave master was equal to 3 northern men. Though this did not turn out to be true on the battlefield, it does seem to be true in the councils of the nation. In sight of all the nation, these ambitious men of the South have dared to take possession of the government which they, with broad blades and bloody hands, sought to destroy. In sight of all the nations, they have disregarded and trampled upon the Constitution and organized parties on the sectional lines. From the ramparts of the solid South, with their 153 electoral votes in the Electoral College, they have dared to defy the nation to put a Republican in the presidential chair for the next 4 years, as they once threatened the nation with civil war if elected Abraham Lincoln. With this grip on the presidential chair, with the House of Representatives in their hands, with the Supreme Court deciding every question in favor of the states, as against the powers of the federal government, denying to the government the right to protect the elective franchise of its own citizens, they may well feel themselves masters, not only of their former slaves, but of the whole situation. With these facts before us, tell me not that the Negro is safe in the possession of his liberty. Tell me not that the power will not assert itself. Tell me not that they who despise the Constitution they have sworn to support will respect the rights of the Negro, whom they already despise. Tell me not that men who thus break faith with God will be scrupulous in keeping faith with the poor Negro laborer of the South. Tell me not that a people who have lived by the sweat of other men's faces and thought themselves Christian gentlemen while doing it will feel themselves bound by the principles of justice to their former victims in their weakness. Such a pretense in face of facts is shameful, shocking, and sickening. Yet, there are men at the North who believe all this. Well, may it be said that Americans have no memories. We look over the House of Representatives and see the solid South enthroned there. We listen with calmness to eulogies of the South, of our traitors in forgotten Andersville. We look over the Senate and see the senator from South Carolina, and we forget Hamburg. We see Robert Smalls cheated out of his seat in Congress and forget the planter and the service rendered by the colored troops in the late war for the Union. Well, the nation may forget. It may shut its eyes to the past and frown upon any who may do otherwise, but colored people of this country are bound to keep fresh a memory of the past. Still justice shall be done them in the present. When this shall be done, we shall as readily as any other part of our respected citizens plead for an act of oblivion. We are often confronted of late in the press and on the platform with the discouraging statement that the problem of the Negro as a free man and a citizen is not yet solved. That since his emancipation, he has disappointed the best hopes of his friends and fulfilled the worst predictions of his enemies, and that he has shown himself unfit for the position assigned him by the mistaken statesmanship of the nation. It is said that physically, morally, socially, and religiously, he is in a condition vastly more deplorable than was his condition as a slave. That he has not proved himself so good a master to himself as his old master was to him. That he is gradually, but surely, sinking before the point of industry, good manners, and civilization to which he attained in a state of slavery. That his industry is fitful, that his economy is wasteful, that his honesty is deceitful, that his morals are impure, that his domestic life is beastly, that his religion is fetishism, and his worship is simply emotional, and that in a word, he is falling into a state of barbarism. Such is the distressing description of the emancipated Negro as drawn by his enemies, and as it is found reported in the journals of the South. Unhappily, however, it is a description not confined in the South. It has gone forth to the North. It has crossed the ocean. I met with it in Europe. And it has gone as far as the wings of the press and the power of speech can carry it. There is no measuring the injury inflicted upon the Negro by it. It cools our friends, heats our enemies, and turns away from us much of the sympathy and aid which we need and deserve to receive at the hands of our fellow men. But now comes the question. Is this description of the emancipated Negro true? In answer to this question, I must say yes and no. It is not true in all its lines and specifications and to the full extent of the ground it covers. But it certainly is true in many of its important features. And there is no race under heaven of which the same would not be equally true with the same antecedents. And the same treatment which the Negro is receiving at the hands of this nation and the old master class, to which the Negro is still a subject. I admit that the Negro, and especially the plantation Negro, the tiller of the soil, has made little progress from barbarism to civilization, and that he is in a deplorable condition since his emancipation, that he is worse off in many respects than when he was a slave. I am compelled to admit, but I contend that the fault is not his, but that of his heartless accusers. He is the victim of a cunningly devised swindle, one which paralyzes his energies, suppresses his ambition, and blasts all his hopes. And though he is nominally free, he is actually a slave. I here and now denounce his so-called emancipation as a stupendous fraud, a fraud upon him, a fraud upon the world. It was not so meant by Abraham Lincoln. It was not meant by the Republican Party, but whether so meant or not, it is practically a lie, keeping the word of promise to the ear and breaking it to the heart.